With a little bit of skill and a few car photos, you can make an amazing poster. If you want to use your own photos, you'll need three things: a 3/4 shot of the car, a detailed shot of the wheels, and then a detailed shot of the engine bay. Or if you want to follow along using the photos that I'm using, you can download those in the description below. But you already know we're using Photoshop on this channel. Let's dive right in. We're going to start with a 24 by 36 inch canvas. That's a standard large poster size. You can go with any size you want, but I'm going for the large movie style poster. And of course, we're going to import our first photo of the car. This is going to be the 3/4 angle, and this is going to be the main focal point of the poster. First thing we need to do is to cut this car out. You would think that we could use the object selection tool to do this. You can use that tool. However, I'm going to show you why that's not preferred in this method, because when you do the selection, it will select the car, but you'll notice that the selection, especially where the black paint meets the background, is not very precise. There's a better way to do this. I always recommend using the pen tool when you're going to do a very precise selection. Easiest thing to do is to use the pen tool, make a shape completely around the car. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to speed this part up, but of course you can pause this and take your time selecting your car. And then once you're done making your shape, all you want to do is hover over the layer where that shape is. You want to hold down the control key and then click on the layer, and then you will have a selection based on your very precise shape that you just created. Now for this car, we're going to do a second selection because I want to lower this car before we put it into the poster. So the easiest way to do that is going to do a second shape. We're going to very carefully mask out right around where the tires are, where the tires meet that kind of black empty space of the wheel well, and then we will cut this out from the body. And the reason why this is important for this poster is because everybody knows that a dialed in suspension setup just makes any sports car look just that much better. And while I appreciate that the GR Corolla has a pretty decent ride height set from factory, I want to slam this car for this poster. So now that we have all of these elements cut out, it's as simple as just dropping the body down on top of the wheels until it's at a point where I like it. You could slam this to the absolute ground. You can also use the same technique to raise up cars, but for this one, I just want this to be a nice, clean sport car look. Okay, now this is where it gets fun because we are going to start to build our poster. Now you might be wondering why I left some of the ground when I made the selection, and that is because for this poster, I want to really give this a solid base, and I think that concrete texture is going to really ground the bottom portion of this poster. But we've got one problem. The concrete doesn't extend all the way down to the bottom. So Photoshop has an easy fix for this. We're going to use the generative fill and just going to make a selection all the way down across the bottom part of that concrete. And then we're going to hit generate. We don't even have to type anything in, and it will give us some pretty solid options as far as extending that concrete all the way down to the edge of the poster. I love Photoshop. So now that we've got that concrete extended all the way down to the bottom, we've got that texture down there. I want to dial in the top portion now. I want to balance this out with just a solid color that's going to complement the hues that are kind of going on within the car, within the concrete. I think something like maybe like a bluish gray. Black is going to be too dark because we really want the car to pop. But this is where we can use the color picker, and I can just move my eyedropper across the car, find a color that works really well in the background and brings the car to the foreground, and then we're good to go. And now we want to make this main part of our poster start to really come together. So I'm going to use a layer mask, use the brush, and I'm going to start to push back the edge of the concrete where it meets the car so that it kind of just disappears into this infinity effect. What you'll notice is that, of course, I'm affecting the wheels because the wheels and the concrete are on the same layer, but we'll go back in with our eraser on the mask and we'll be able to precisely bring those wheels back in a way that just makes the car pop. And a few final adjustments there on that concrete. And now we're ready to add our second photo. We're going to go ahead and drop the detailed photo of the wheels right behind the car. And then I'm going to use the color dodge layer adjustment to push the wheel back into the background and just, again, making some textures in the back that are interesting. but they're going to really make the car pop in the foreground. I'm not going to lie, one of the details that I love on that wheel is at the very top, it says made in Japan, very subtle. And when you push it back to the background of the photo, I think that's going to be a cool detail on the final product. Now for this poster, we're going to do an image inside some text. Of course, it's easy with the GR Corolla because GR is, we can put that nice and big. The font that I'm using here is a font called Lemon Milk. Yes, you heard that right. But it is a very nice sans serif font. Sans serif means that it just doesn't have a whole lot of frills to it. It's a nice clean font. And now we're right into using our third photo, that engine bay photo. Now we're going to import the photo, and I'm going to make sure that that layer is on top of the text layer that we just created. And then I'm going to put my mouse right in between the two layers. Hold down the Alt key, and then I'm going to click on the line in between the layers, and it's going to clip that photo into the text. Super cool technique. Now it's just a matter of adjusting that photo around inside the text. I like seeing that GR badge on the engine cover right there in the middle of the R. And then we're going to mess with the opacity just a little bit, dial that in. So here something's not looking right with the text to me. I don't think it's the photo on the inside. I played with adding a stroke here with my layer styles. I don't think that's doing it. I think actually the text color is what's wrong. So I'm going to change the text color to a white, which really makes that pop. I'm going to add my stroke back in there. And now you can see that it really becomes this background element that it stands on its own, it stands out, but it doesn't take away from the dark blacks of the car. And I think that was the problem before. The black text with the black car contrasting, not enough. And so now we've got that nice clean contrast between the main subject of the car and the text and the wheel in the background. Now, you could stop here with this poster. I think that this poster this is actually kind of a cool look, and you could print this out, hang it on your wall. You got a cool poster of your car, but I always love to add some extra details. Light and shadow play a huge role in making interest on a photo. So I'm going to use some vertical bars. And these are going to be just white, and then I'm going to give them a red glow. And then I'm going to duplicate that and make it almost like this reflection on the concrete. It's a super cool effect that in reality doesn't always make sense, but for the sake of making an interesting poster, this really can draw your eye. We're going to take this to the next level, and I'm going to use my brush and a red color, and I'm simply going to paint some light effects on top of this car. And you'll want to be subtle with this, but the key here is to paint the light in areas that you would already see the light. And so you'll see that I'm kind of highlighting areas that are already highlighted by the white, and I'm giving it a little bit of a red hue. And then of course you can dial that in with the layer style and using that like screen type. And that's going to really help it to be cohesive with the original factory paint light scheme that's going on, but it's going to enhance that based on the colors that we're using for our highlight color on this poster. And the final touch is going to be a little bit more text. You could stop here, but for these types of posters, I always find it interesting to maybe put the name of the car, put a few specs in there. It just makes the poster look like it's a legit piece of artwork. And this final piece is a trick that I think every digital artist, photographer should get used to. The camera raw filter in Photoshop is it's an insane way to really dial in any photo. It's going to make all of your colors look cohesive. And there you go. Now you have a custom poster of your car or any car that looks super cool, looks dialed in. I could see this hanging on my personal wall. Actually, I might actually print this off, send it to your favorite print studio, have them print it, frame it, and hang it on the wall. So thank you so much for spending some time going through this quick tutorial. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. And if you enjoyed the channel, please feel free to subscribe, like, comment, and I will see you in the next video. God bless.